Hey, welcome to part two of your Learn experience with me. I'm your host on the musical magical journey, Ryan Tedder. Today, I'm going to be more focused on production, pop production, modern production. And there's a few overlying fundamentals that I like to stay true to. One is there's only so much frequency available in the human spectrum of hearing sound. You need to make sure that you do not have multiple things fighting for the same frequency. For instance, vocals and a saxophone, vocals and certain electric guitar, depending on where you're playing it. Cymbals and guitars, cymbals and vocals, a low synthesizer and a bass guitar, a kick drum and an 808, a kick drum and a low synth. There are so many things that occupy very similar frequencies, and one of the jobs of a good producer, and sometimes an engineer, you need to pay attention to where your layer, and I refer to a song, a fully produced song, as kind of like a layer cake. You want each layer to be different, interesting, but play nice with the other layers. And you don't want too many, or it's just a terrible tasting cake. So when you're looking at production like a layer cake, one layer can only occupy one layer, right? You can't have chocolate and vanilla on the same layer. They fight and they turn into some different flavor. So I approach producing like a layer cake, and I'm making sure that sonically none of the things are fighting each other. One of the other basic fundamentals is the drum pattern and the bass. Those two things have to be simpatico no matter what. They have to be dancing together in unison. And you'll see me spend a fair amount of time making sure that my bass notes are the right bass notes, that my kick drum and my bass are moving in congress with each other, and that they're not fighting. A lot of times as I'm producing, you'll see me solo out just the instrumental without the vocal and listen to it to make sure that I'm not hearing anything weird or anything that's fighting. I think the other thing to consider is momentum. Depending on what type of song you're doing, it doesn't really matter if it's 128 beats a minute, 160, or 80. There needs to be momentum. You need to have chapters. Every 4 or 8 bars, I'm introducing one new piece of information. Could be a cowbell, could be a guitar, could be a hi-hat or a shaker or a piano. And I'm introducing that in a way that's working with the rest of the song. And then I'm also being mindful to utilize those sounds throughout the remainder of the song. If you look at my typical production in a DAW, or DAW, for the uninitiated, a Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, Fruity Loops, Cubase, etc., you'll see these chapters. You'll see my song getting more tracks as the song goes on. I'm adding dynamic. I'm adding chapters, tension and release. One of the most important things of any song. We have about anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes to keep the listener listening, and I'm focused on every single second, making sure that there's no reason to change that station, skip to the next track, or hit pause or turn it off. I want you to be glued to that song from the moment it starts to the moment it ends. And the way you do that is through tension and release, tension and release. Very similar to a movie or to a 5-course meal. You need tension and release, and you need to constantly be turning the dials on those dynamics. So each 4 bars, 8 bars, the listener's getting something new, something cool to keep them listening. It's all about keeping the listener listening. I do that with lyrics, I do it with melody, but once you have the lyric and the melody completely nailed down, production is really how you keep that listener glued. Those little moments just constantly evolving throughout the remainder of the song. My goal is always to have at least 3 artists that could cut any one song. Because otherwise it's like, if you just tailor a song for Justin Bieber and then he doesn't take it, well now what, right? So I always try to write the best song possible, because you can always change the production. I could change the production. If the song's great, you could change the production 100 ways for 100 different artists. But in a perfect world, I don't have to do that. Well, I don't like to do that for one reason and one reason only. I'm lazy and I'm busy. And so the combination of those two things means I don't want to have to redo something if I don't have to. I've been in the headspace of Selena, Halsey, thinking, okay, I'd love to work with Dua. And I have worked with Selena in the past before, and I had a hit with her a few years ago. I'd like to have another one. So For whatever reason, today, that's where my head's at. And the whole time I'll be working, I'll be thinking, okay, would Halsey like this sound, or would Selena like this vibe? Would Dua like this vibe? And at the same time, I don't want it to sound like anything any of them have done. So that's kind of hard. So I'm intentionally not going to reference any songs from Selena or Dua or Halsey right now, because I kind of know them. And if I reference them right now, it will probably get too much in my head and psych myself out. And then I'll be thinking about someone else's song, and I don't want to do that. I just want to chase something cool. So at the end of the day, what are my motivating factors? I'm trying to write a song that I want to hear. That's all I'm ever doing. When I write, I'm trying to write a song that I want to hear, that sounds unique and different to me and in the space. And I could go through and tell you 20 stories about 20 songs or 20 hits I've had and why each one of them worked. But what I can tell you is that in the moment that I did them, I was chasing something unique that I wanted to hear. It's really that simple. And if you have good taste, or the type of taste that lines up with culture or with what people want to hear, then you too can write hit records. It's really not. There's not too much magic about it. There's a little bit of magic, but most of it's just doing the work and putting in the time. So I'm going to get into it. What I've intentionally tried to do with the first lesson, with the songwriting lesson, and what I'm going to try to do today and try to do on lesson 3, I've given this a lot of thought. I have every piece of equipment you could possibly have. I don't even know at this point, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of microphones and outboard gear, and I could pull all racks of this over here, and we could start piping through all the sounds that I'm doing, running them through analog gear, getting them nice and fat and warm and all those things. But I know there's a snowball's chance in hell that you're going to go out and buy this gear, or that you have this gear. Frankly, that you need this gear, because you don't. I'm going to try and do songs and prove to you that with very limited stuff here, I'm going to use a couple analog synths because I have them and they're here at my disposal. But I also want you to know you don't need those. You can buy the virtual versions of them for much less than it costs to buy these guys. I'm going to use them because they're here, and I'm actually better at dialing in the sounds on the real keyboards than I am half the time in MIDI. And some of the best, biggest hits I've ever had, I had one keyboard, one drum machine, and one computer. I had nothing else. So that's the point. So I'm going to intentionally limit the aperture or scope of gear that I'm using for purposes of today. I got to pick a tempo. So let's get like 5 mono tracks for vocals or whatever. I'm going to create, let's say, 4 tracks for keyboards. I'm going to create, let's say, 4 tracks for MIDI, just some instrument tracks. First thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to open up a drum kit. I program drums 2 ways, one of 2 ways. Very often, I will do it visually, meaning I will throw in kicks and snares on the grid and map out a tempo that I like, or a pattern that I like, or a beat that I like. It's just moving around samples and waveforms and with a click track until it feels right. I do that a lot. The other way to do it is how for years I programmed drums on an MPC. I always played them for like 10 years. And then when I discovered the battery kits, I started doing it with battery. And you get a bit more of a human feel to the drums and a cadence. And lately I think I'm getting more back into actually playing drums out. So look, I have 19,000 kits. I could spend forever going through all these. But I'm gonna pull up a couple that I know I like. Okay, like I know I like the alphabetical pop kit. I like this alt fabric kit. I'm gonna figure out how to go through some sounds real quick. All right, already I like that. That's kind of like an 808. That's dope. That's a little aggressive. I feel like I like that right now. Maybe that's a chorus thing, but that for 3 minutes might wear me out. That's sick. Jeez. Now that's sick. I don't even know what that is. See, what I love about battery is, honestly, I don't know what any of these terms refer to. Like, what is the sound of alt fabric? I have no idea what that means, but it's cool. So I like these two. I like that, and I like that. I think that's the sound I'm gonna go with for now. And I may change it, but I like that. What's that tempo though? 1, 2, 3. What is that? Is that 105? Is it 107? I don't know. Let's get a click track in there. How about that? I guess the tempo. I love it when I do that. There we go. There's my pattern. So I don't know that I need to quantize it necessarily. I do know that the first beat needs to 100% land on the 1. I don't want to start early. If you're going to swing a beat, you don't swing it ahead of the beat. You swing it behind the beat. Little trick with Timbaland back in the day, part of what made Timbaland's beats so different and otherworldly, he never quantized anything. So he would just loop something for like eternity, like 10 minutes. He'd close his eyes and play the beat until it felt right to him. And then that became the loop. Which is amazing. It's a little harder to do when you start stacking sounds on top of each other, because then everything has to be slaved to that original beat and you're visually having to line stuff up instead of quickly copying and pasting things. It gets very cumbersome. All right, so like that first, this feels good. That just feels good. Even if it's not perfect, it feels good. You see how swung it is? See that? I'm kind of on there, I'm on the beat, little swung here, on the beat, but see that little natural, that's called the human quotient right there. There are lots of quantization settings, 60%, 50%, 40%, 80%, swing like Logic, swing like an MPC, swing like a SP1200. There's all these different alternatives, but I'm a big fan of just like the human swing. And then where it's slightly off, or if it's too much, I slightly adjust it, but I still leave it not perfect. Like slightly address some of the imperfections here, but I'm gonna do them myself instead of letting the machine do it. That one's a little too, that's just a little too far behind in my opinion. Let's see if we like this. That, I love how that feels right there. Let's see, like worst case scenario as I get into this song, I might have to get it more on the grid. It might bite me in the ass down the road in terms of layering other things on there. Let's just see. All right, so this is obviously, all right, I'm kind of adjusting the swing in one big fell swoop. And what's interesting about this is that it sounds like there's an 808 attached to this kit, and I'm hoping that doesn't hurt me, but I can always print these. There we go, look at that. Now we're in one clip. So there's my basic pattern. I feel like this is the kind of song where that is gonna be my return to home base pattern. I might add or subtract from it, but I don't think I'm gonna change it. Here's how I'm gonna get more control over what I'm doing here. I gotta decide if I'm gonna print this and turn it from MIDI into an audio and then manipulate it in audio, or if I'm gonna do it here. Like if I need to change the key in this, what if I go down like negative, like if I go down 5 semitones. All right. So that's me taking it down, because obviously whatever my progression becomes in this song, this feels like a verse that might want to hang around in one chord in the verse, which would be awesome. Like very dark and just kind of more of a hip hop vibe where I'm not really getting off of the main note. That sounds like na ba e. What is that? Am I close? Am I close? No, 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 no. Yeah, I think I was right. I think it's E. Yeah, so we're in E. I don't have Jacob Collier or Charlie Puth perfect pitch, but I do have relative pitch, relative to A. And it's close enough just to be dangerous, because I'll be half a step off sometimes. So we're in E. So that's good for my voice. I don't know if it's good for Selena. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm thinking Selena and Halsey, who have a similar range. I'm gonna look at the key of. All right, just to get an idea of what key she's in here. E major. How about that? I'm in the right key. That's just called luck. So at least I know it's good for her. Might not be good for Halsey, but it's good for her, and I know that I can sing in E for sure. So what I'm gonna try and do here, watch this. I'm gonna separate this out. So I know that I like the snares. That's the kick, right? Right, so now I have a track that only has my snare sound. I'm gonna get rid of it on that track. So now I can get this, have the snares however I want them. And then when I need to tune the drums, I'm obviously not gonna stay in one note the whole song, so when I get to the chorus, I can tune the drums. All right, so let's just do this. And if you want to, which I'll probably end up doing, this might be a little premature, but if I wanna max this out a little bit, get a little compression on that, I'm gonna use my LA2A Legacy. Apply some medium compression there. If you want to add some sub to that, I can always layer in another 808, or I could add a sub enhancer on this kick, which might be interesting. Pro subharmonic. This guy right here, that's a fun plugin to have. Pro subharmonic. So that's too much, but check it out. It's hard to hear if you're listening on computer speakers, but like if you're listening in a car or something like that and you want to just take your existing sub or your 808 or your kick and you're like, I want another 10%, 20% of like size to it, I'll throw this on there. A lot of times I will use this on a live kick. Live kicks often don't give you that, depending on how you mic'd it, it may not give you that full subharmonic range, and it may not have all that bottom end that you want it to have. You throw a sucker like this on it and it just peaks those low frequencies. So this is all at 0. Now, it's like an earthquake. I think that's about right there. So I added very little, 4 or 5% to that, and I can adjust that as I need to, but for now that works. All right, cool. So it's sitting on the E, it's sitting on the 1. E minor, it sounds like. We're in the minor scale in E. I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some auto tune. All right. I already know I'm gonna end up cutting vocals on this pretty quick. Humanize. There's a little 775. Alto, E minor. actually pretty amazing itself. Oh, there's my other sound. I just like that. All right, so I may want to use that sound in there too. So, all right. Just to have as a backup, let's record this. I don't like it on the offbeats. Okay, this though, I do want quantized. I want that to be right on the grid. So all right, so I have that as a backup. I don't know until I put a melody on this if it wants to have more space like this. I actually kind of like how my snaps sound right there. I'm going to record that real quick. Okay, what's interesting is this sound. I don't know, let's see. I don't like how it sounds on headphones, which is another important lesson, by the way. Sometimes stuff that sounds great in headphones doesn't sound good on speakers, and the reverse is true. Sometimes the sound on speakers sounds incredible. You put on headphones, and you're like, that just doesn't sound like at all what I thought it sounded like. And this is a little weirder than I thought. Anyway, I'm gonna layer some snaps on it real quick because it's been a while since I've recorded live snaps, so I might as well do it now. There we go. Okay, super dry. I'm going to pan these out left and right and just see how it sounds. This is how I create a quick stack. I don't know why it took me this long to figure this out, but I used to just do that like I am there, and then I'd go back through, do a whole nother track, and then stack them again for 4 bars. Do a whole nother track, stack them again. I'm an idiot. So I did that for years, and I was like, wait a minute. And I saw somebody in a session just go through and go, okay, look at that. Now I have a stack of 4, and they're all completely different. And I don't need to sit there and waste a bunch of time recording snaps anymore. So pan these out left and right, see if they work dry or if I need to add anything to them. All right, I kind of want them to be a little bit more panned. Sick, all right. Let's copy and paste these. The 2s and 4s. 2s and 4s are when you want your snaps. All right, so this sound right here, I really don't like. I'm gonna keep it, but I'm gonna see if there's anything else I can layer in there real quick. Then we're gonna get some melodies going and get moving on this train. That's kind of interesting. All right, I'm already using that. That might be better right there, so. All right, so boom. Quantize. All right, cool. Basically what I'm doing right now is aggregating a bunch of sounds that I like. I don't know how I'm gonna use them yet. I don't know, I might ditch. I probably use 1 out of 5 things I pull into a track, maybe 1 out of 10. But I like to pull them in there and selectively pick. You don't need to stack a bunch of sounds once you find the right sound. And so a lot of times producers, I've done it in the past, have like a snare will have 16 stacks of different snares on it because I'm trying to achieve a certain sound. And rather than spend all the time finding the right sound, you're just layering a bunch of other sounds, tuck them all, certain volume, and that works. And that was very, very, very common, like the kind of TikTok, Kesha, Katy Perry era that started in 2010, 11, like the Dr. Luke, Max Martin stuff, like on through for probably about 6, 7 years. I did it a lot too. I would call it like production stacking. It was like just, it wasn't like a technical method, but it was definitely a style of production. And it was a kind of a rapid fire, quick approach to production that created a very dense sound. Now I think it's more about just finding the right sound. You could have a small track. You don't need 13,000 things happening. It's about getting the right sounds. I'm gonna go back to my primary snare sound now and actually map out a song here and get going. Okay. I'm gonna track a vocal melody because I'm hearing something in my head and see how it sounds. Check, check, check. 1, 2. All right, told you my little vocal. My little vocal cheat. Check, check. Here we go. I was somebody different before I met you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Before I met you. Ooh. I was somebody loving before I met you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Before I met you. Ooh. Come on away, son, I ain't for it, isn't there? Ooh. I was somebody different before I met you. Ooh. But started a fell and it made me honest and keeping me honest. Obviously, I'm going somewhere, a different chord progression right there. All sec. Somebody different before I met you. Ooh. Okay, I need like a little bit of reverb here, just to give me that vibe. So I'm listening back, I like what I hear. Mask some of my mistakes. I was somebody different before I met you. Ooh. I was somebody loving before I met you. Ooh. I like that. Come on away, son, I ain't for it, isn't there? Ooh. I was somebody different before I met you. Ooh. And chorus. Okay, so I'm kind of blocking out what the arrangement of the song is as I go. The shape of this verse, what could be interesting here, and already I'm stumbling into something that's really unique and really different. It's just dark, but like melodic, hyper melodic. So the shape of the verse right now is A, A, B, A, right? I was somebody different before I met you. That's A, that's the initial shape of the melody. And the second one, I was somebody different before I met you, right? So basically the same. So A, A, then I went away, cut them off, that uneven there. That's a B. That's a different melody. We're departing from the established melody so the listener gets something new. And then I'm returning back to I was somebody different before I met you, right? A, B, A. This next section, what would normally come after this? Pre-chorus, right? Maybe. I just went to a melody that I love. Honest, you're keeping me honest. Like, and even that lyric kind of came out of nowhere. Like, da 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 da. You know, don't know what kind of trip you got me on, but I know that I'm on it, and you're keeping me honest. Like, I don't even know what that means. I just know I like how it sounds. And that melody to me could be a chorus, right? I really love it when you end up with songs that go verse, chorus, and you get to the chorus like that. Like Don't Bore Us, get to the chorus, 30 seconds. I don't know if that melody I just went to is gonna be a chorus or not. I'm hoping that it is. I'm hoping that that turns into something good enough where I've given you the chorus in the first 30 seconds, because that's already a win. Like as far as like pop goes right now, if you can do that, you know, or start with a chorus, which is what half of everybody's doing right now. But I just like this, and I think I know where it needs to go chord-wise. And the other thing I want to do, because I'm thinking it's for a female, is I want to mess my voice up a little bit to create like an otherworldly sound. I'm gonna open, this is one of my favorite plugins, Little Altar Boy. I mean, this is what all of us have been using for a few years now. You have to get Little Altar Boy, first of all, you just have to. It works on guitars, it works on vocals, bass, it'll manipulate anything. And it just makes it, now I can sound a little more female. Somebody different before I met you. See? I was somebody loving before I met you. Come on, race and I ain't for it isn't there. I was somebody different before I met you. I want to go. So this sounds like I'm going to. So let's open up a synth real quick and figure out where I'm going, and then I'm going to program it in. Just want to figure out what I'm doing first. Actually, I already have it, a bunch of stuff opened up here. And I can tell immediately that this right here, now the reason I put that on its own track is going to become evident, because I need to change the chords. I can't just sit on E the whole time. And speaking of, like, why am I sitting on E for the whole verse? Why aren't I doing more chord changes like a normal, like in a lot of other pop songs? Well, it's kind of like that's a more, I would call it a more hip-hop approach to the verse, where you're hovering around one chord or two chords. I think, like, speaking of Katy Perry, I think Teenage Dreams is two chords. Like verses can get away with one or two chords, and it kind of keeps it cool. I don't know why, it just keeps it cooler. Like, it's not as pop, we're here, we're popping. Like, it's just like, it kind of grounds it, and it makes you get more creative with the melodies, and you're just honed in on that one chord. It keeps it darker, especially I'm in a minor key, I'm in E minor. So that's part of why it works. And that's gonna let me do a pop chorus. I'm gonna be able to go for it with some cool open, all of a sudden it's called, you know, it's tension and release. Pop records, hit records, you're building tension and satisfaction, and then just when the listener is getting enough of that, or they're getting too much, dark minor, right at the right moment, you're giving them that release by opening up and going into like a different chord progression. I'm giving you more chords, I'm giving you more like pop and moments, and that's what this wants to be. And again, I don't know if there's a pre-chorus or chorus, but I know it wants to change. So now watch, I know that I'm gonna use these kicks. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and commit this to audio. Okay, I don't need to do that, just go boom, left button, commit. You gotta go in and zoom in on that, make sure that the audio is printed correctly. I can all tell based on this. No, see, here's the problem with Pro Tools. Look right here. You see the MIDI? Little production trick, a mistake that you could easily not catch if you're not paying attention. So in my MIDI, my downbeat kick starts on the 1, period. Not kind of on the 1, on the 1. You can see it right there, I'm zoomed in all the way. it starts on the 1. No matter how far I zoom in, it's still perfectly on the 1. Pro Tools, when it prints MIDI, when you convert it to audio or commit it to audio, it very often will add latency, right? Now that's where it starts. How do you fix that? Here's how I do it. Go to slip mode, zoom in on the very, very start of that kick, right, probably about there, give a little space. Clip it. Now watch this. Go to the top of the grid, clip that. That right there, that amount of space is how much this entire kick pattern is off. If we go all the way down to here, it's still gonna be off that exact same amount of space, right? So you clip it, go into shuffle mode, boom, up here, shuffle mode, you can click on it, you can do that too. Shuffle mode, hit, highlight the part you're trying to get rid of, boom, it slides the entire kick pattern over. Now we are perfectly flush. You have to do that every time pretty much I use MIDI in Pro Tools. You have to check that. Another reason why Cubase and Ableton are really good, but it sounds better in Pro Tools. So now we get to this chorus, watch. So I think ba 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 ba. Yep. So we're going to this C, and then we're probably gonna go like this. There's our chorus progression. C, down to A, maybe a passing B, B, and then right, there's our progression. I just know that that's where it wants to, that's the note I want to hear. I don't know why. I'm not paying, by the way, I'm not paying at all any attention to what progression I'm in. You know, I'm not thinking about the number or chord chart of where I'm going. I have no interest, I don't care. I'm literally messing around. I shut that part of my brain off, and I'll futz around oftentimes without looking just to figure out what feels the best. Because if I go to the number or the chords that I know work, it's like it doesn't leave room for accidents, right? And the accidents are when you make the coolest stuff ever because you weren't thinking, you were just reacting instinctively. So I need to lower the progression on this. It said tune 0.00 ST. ST stands for semitones, half steps. So you can try and drag it down, which is a nightmare, or just double click and go negative 4. I'm gonna go negative 4. Let's see how this sounds. Oh, whoops, I tuned it on the wrong thing. Whoops, here. That's the one. My bad. On. Also make sure you highlight the right patch. I tuned this accidentally, but that's the kick I'm using. So in battery, which I highly recommend getting battery, the first hit I had on battery was Bleeding Love. I did all those drums, whatever that drum pattern was, all of that was done in battery. Get battery, it's good. I'm gonna go down 4. There we go. Now watch, this should in theory work. Yep, it's working. Boom. So let's see how much, and then I'll just keep printing these. So I know I want to print that. So let's go ahead and print that. Right, and I'm going to pull it down to the same track. I'm probably off. Yep, see that again? So stupid that I have to do that, but it is what it is. The price you pay of using Pro Tools MIDI. And what's possibly causing, by the way, this delay is the fact that I have LA2A and Pro Sub on it. So the processing for those two plugins might be doing this, but I wanted to print them with those plugins so I don't have to use up all my horsepower in the computer anymore. Okay, so that's that. And what's the next key we want? So I'm going, so the question is going down to the A in the sub, in the bass clef, going that far down, is that gonna be too low? Or am I gonna wanna go? Or am I gonna wanna go up an octave? Let's just see. Let's see if the sucker can go down 3 more semitones without sounding like trash. So that would be -7 from where we started. Let's see how this sounds. I love it. I love it. All right, so there's that. That makes me happy. Okay, doing that same little MIDI slide that we have to do, call it the Pro Tools MIDI Shuffle. Then it wants to go back to the 1. Now the only thing I'm noticing is that these are getting drug out longer. So watch, and oftentimes what I'll do, so look, now I'm realizing what's happening. So look, this is important to notice. Look at the length of these kicks, right? They're not stretching, each kick is not stretching all the way to the kick after it. There's a gap there that I like. I like how that sounds. What this has done now by me tuning it in MIDI, what happens is when you lower a key or lower an instrument by pitching, it naturally, if you want to retain the sonic quality of the sample, of the clip, what a computer will do, or what a pitch correction software will do, is often stretch it out. Because the lower something goes, the longer the waveform gets, and naturally it becomes longer, right? So what this clearly has done in Battery has already made that adjustment for me, and it has let it get longer to retain the sonic quality. But now I've got an issue that I'm not getting that gap that I'm getting right here. See that? See the end of that? See how much space is between these kicks? This has no space. So I have 2 options here. I could try and print these just to see what would it sound like. I'm going to try one just real quick. What would happen if I just used one of my pitch corrections and went down? Pitching a sound up or down is just a 30 times a day thing that we do as producers. It's just every amount of audio you can imagine, and depending on how granular you want to get. When I'm doing dance records or even just pop records, oftentimes I'll tune the snare, the toms, the kick, everything is in the same key. On repeat listens, the human ear will catch it, and it might make you just 5% less likely to play the song again. And I know it's all crazy, but it's the psychology of just how we listen to music. And so you have to be exact. So what I'm going to do is I used in every pitch correction piece of software, I have like 6 of them. They all are good for different things. I use Pitch in Time Pro if I want something to slide down like a hi-hat going. Xform is by far the most expensive pitch correction software that I own. It is expensive, but I fundamentally feel that it is the best. Ableton, probably the biggest thing, one of the biggest tricks that Ableton does as software better than anybody else is pitch correction. You can take any sound in the world and manipulate it up and down and without quality loss. Because what happens is the further you get away from your starting point, up or down, you have what's called signal loss or quality loss and what's called artifacting. You get artifacts. And what is an artifact? It's like when you pitch something down or up, and now in addition to the sound you pitched, there's something else. It's like a or like some terrible something. And we call those things artifacts. They're things that don't belong, things that are not part of the original sound or waveform or clip. Different pitch correction softwares, some will leave artifacts, some don't. Some, it just depends on the sound you're pitching. I can use the cheapest pitch correction of all time when I'm just doing a slight nudge on a vocal. I'll go up here and I'll use this guy right here. Look at that. That comes with Pro Tools. It costs 0 cents, but I've used it for forever because for certain things, it's the right thing. And see that time correction? That's what it's doing. Watch this. If I take this down, -4 semitones, and I time correct it, it might not sound great. Let's just see what happens. It might work, who knows? That's -4. So it's a little bit wigglier. Now watch, if I don't do time correction, then it just gets longer. But if you want the wave to be the exact same length, you're probably going to have a quality loss. Yeah, it's wavier. It's like, I know it's very subtle, but it's slightly less of a quality sound as it was. It's just not as firm. So now I'm going to try X-Form. There we go. All right, now let's try it. And I don't need to do the whole wave. I really just need to do that. So let's see what happens. I'm going to go down 4. This is all about preserving my initial kick sound. Look, it didn't get longer at all. Let's hear how it sounds though. It added a weird clip at the top. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Otherwise, it sounds way better. If you're gonna spend money on a piece of software, spend it on vocals, spend it on pitch correction. I want them to be the exact length that they were originally. Boom. Now look, I've got my sound that I want, but I've got it the right length. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all these little stupid inconsistencies there. Right? What's the next one? We have our C. I want to go down to A now. Okay. Please sound good. Please. Yep. That's about as low as you want to go with an 808 kick right there. You're going to lose some, you're going to have some serious quality loss if I go any further. I think we're good. I think we might have our whole progression here. Check it out. Love that. Okay, there's our chorus progression. Okay, so I don't think it wants to keep going there. I feel like it wants to go back. Let's go back to the verse. Okay, I know I like this sound from the battery pack, so I'm gonna go ahead and print this. Commit. And let's just make sure that it's landing on the 2s and 4s like I planned it. Well, just like the other guy, it looks like it got a little bit off. Shuffle, delete. Let's get a little LA2A on this bad boy. There you go. That's kind of crazy. So the compression on that, I might have added too much, but I actually don't think it needs it right now. I kind of like how it sounds. Go ahead and copy this over. We can free up some computer juice on this. Let's just go ahead and make an active on this battery. Get out of the way. Sick. Okay, we have that. I think I'm about ready to track some Moog in here again. Just to map out a bit of a chorus vibe. And then I'll start adding some other layers and figure out what else I need. I'm hearing guitar, I'm hearing verse 2. I think I want to probably track some live drums and some hi-hat stuff. I feel like, I don't know that there's going to be much more in terms of progression to this song. We'll see how it goes. I want to open up, I want to pull another instrument track down here, just in case I need it. And I have an audio track. Let's track some Moog. We're going to track some analog synth. If you buy one synthesizer, if you can only afford one, please get a mini Moog, or Moog as some people say, Voyager. That would be, this is just a beast. Second to that, I would either get the Juno 106 or the brand new Prophet. Like if you're gonna spend money on analog keyboards, if you could just get, but if you just have this, if you have a mini Moog right here, this guy right here is a beast and you need this. Okay, we're gonna track this. Okay, so right, so I'm going to adjust the glide rate slightly, which means the portamento, which means the notes will kind of bend into each other a little bit. Right now we're at 2. Watch this if I went. Okay, here we go. Let's try to see how we like this.
Somebody different before I met you.
All right. I might have to retrack that a couple times till I get a perfect performance out of it, but that you start to get the idea. Because there's a filter on the Moog that's like controlling some of the volume, so I'm not getting a consistent volume level. So I might be able to fix that with compression. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to just like play it in 4 bars at a time, which is what I'm used to anyway. This might solve the problem. I'm using the trusty LA2A. See if it happens. Second half was perfect, so maybe let's just see if I use the second half. I might have gotten lucky on my first try. I'll probably do another pass just as a backup, but that was pretty dang on it. And even the pocket on that was great. So let's try to. Sick. I'm gonna try and recreate that in stereo, see if I get lucky at all. But I just love how that, it just feels mean. Actually, what I can do here is just do this. I'm gonna create an aux track. Save some juice. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just kill LA2A. I'm gonna send them both to the same aux track. So now they're kind of married, more or less. And UAD, LA2A. There we go. That's me. That's what I'm talking about. That's just like, that's goosebumps. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so I don't have any lyrics yet, but I'm gonna start adding a few more layers of production here. I need like a otherworldly kind of sound in the chorus to just kind of keep it haunting and cool, but like, and I'll get into some like drums and other stuff. I can see that coming in at some point. I'm hearing some live drums mixed in with this song. It's actually kind of nice too. It's actually kind of nice too. Like for later on in the song. Too big. kind of sick. I don't know why, but we got some nice snares. I'm gonna play some live drums here shortly using virtual drums and to get some feel on some hi-hat stuff. Might even have some live stuff. A big part of producing is understanding what frequencies in the spectral range of frequency, understanding what space is being taken up, right? So, for instance, trumpets, saxophones, and the human voice sit in a very similar register. So when you have a song with a lot of horns on it, like a Bruno Mars thing or Jonas Brothers, whatever, you got to be careful that the trumpets or saxophone isn't stomping all over the voice. That if someone's singing and you have saxophone playing, that they're out of the way of each other or playing in a different register. So a lot of production is frequency, okay? I've got a kick with a big nose on it that's like a lot of high end on it, right? There's a lot of bite or punch to it. So whatever else other kicks I'm gonna layer in under that can't have that same thing. I'm gonna have to carve it out in the frequency, like using an EQ band thing and just like carve it out. So it's just something to keep in mind. Like one of the cardinal rules of production is be aware of what frequencies every sound is taking up space and don't overcrowd one frequency. It just becomes like not cool. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice too. I'm gonna be using these. Now I want to hear, like, I know what I'm going for. Let's see if I can find it. I like that. That's a little haunting, but it might work. I can always, but I like. I think that's like almost verbatim something I'm looking for here. Okay, so this sound right here. I'll save that. I'm gonna figure out a way to use that. This guy, I wanna hear that in E. What I always do when I import a sample, another little production trick, preserve the original clip. Preserve the original clip. Preserve the thing you imported, because at some point you're gonna mess it up and you're gonna be like, damn it, where's the original one? So I take this, I'll put them at the beginning of a session, and I'll mute it. So at least I know the original thing and all its beauty is right there. I'm gonna pitch this up. I'm gonna use X form. Okay. I'm gonna go up 7 semitones here to A. We're just gonna make a mean ass pop record that just feels nasty. I think it needs a little reverb. This is like my answer. That's so sick. Like, this might be too much. So, like, just keeping it moody. Sick. So. Ooh, see? Look at that. The rest of that is a little nuts. It sounds like like all the Dementors in Harry Potter trying to sing together, but this might be an underlying just choir thing. Let's just see if I can use this. I have no clue. I want to see. And then also, that's got a nose on it. That does too. But let's see if I can use it. Jeez. Let's see if these want to be a big snare song. I don't know if it wants to be this or not yet. It's a bit of a nose on that, but look what I can do here. I might do it right there. So this, now watch, I'm gonna try and mirror the pattern of my kick. We'll see if anybody notices. The verses is slightly different swing than the chorus. And the other thing I gotta figure out is what is the key of this tom? I think we're in A. The thing I have to figure out now, well, production 101, is if my tom, if I'm gonna have to change the tuning of the tom each time you hear it, or if the note A that it's in, if that's gonna work the whole time, right? So I'm going, that's the key of the tom, and here's the chorus progression. Nope, I need to change it on the last chord. I go down 2 semitones because I don't like how that sounds. I don't mind that. I want that. So here we go. So watch this. Remember I said that last one's not going to sound good? Now watch. It kind of works, but it's a little weird. Watch if I go down 2 semitones, what happens. Now I'm doing a chord that sounds good to the ear. I have no clue what chord it is. I just know that A over E doesn't sound good, but G over E does. And keep this guy intact. See? Then you can hear, doesn't work, that does work. And then so there we go. There's our progression with our tom. And let's see if we like it with the snare. I think it's this guy right here. Oh yeah, it's these two. It's both of these. But let's just hear how this sounds. Let's make the flam every other, right? So this might be too big for this song. It might not. Let's find out. I think it's in between F and F sharp. Crap. Yeah, it's like halfway in between. So I think we're about 1.5 semitones, 1.5 steps off. So, and I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna try and make this in the key of E. And I can always auto-tune it if I need to. Or melodyne it. Let's hear it without it first. Ooh, no, you know what? Let's use that on the back half. What if it's the back half? That's an interesting idea. Let me just fly this over, mute the rest of this stuff right now. I haven't used. Let's get back to the arrangement. But I definitely am going to be using this stuff. I don't know if I like that. I think that what we can do, there's something little 9 Inch Nails about that, isn't there? I'm thinking like Prince. I'm thinking Phil Collins. I don't know. That's just where my head's at. I'm pulling out that high octave pitch thing because I feel like it's a little too creepy right now. But we got it there. We can use it. High octave, high creep, call that. All right, let's get to the arrangement, figure out what our chorus is. That feels dope though. I'll make sure these guys work together. So now I've stacked that. And what you could do is, just for fun, just to see if it makes our chorus better, you could go. Remember what I said about preserve your initial thing? If you want to follow the chorus progression, right? You know where I'm going with this. Oh, right. Little pitched, chopped and pitched choir action, vocal bed. So. Sick. We got that in there. Let's call this choir low weird ah. All right, Moog 1. Moog lead right. So the drums, now that I'm hearing it, I'm gonna save that big kind of moment with the toms and the snares and everything coming in. It's just too much on chorus 1. It's super cool, but it's just too much. So I'm gonna punt those out to a later point in the song. So a lot of how I produce is kind of like throw a bunch of stuff at chorus 1 and then chapter it out, phase it into the rest of the song. So you're not kind of blowing your load in the first chorus and just like killing people. There's some cool sounds in here though. Like this is, it's dark, it's edgy, it's different. Let's go to the Kashmir. I think that's your basic. That's kind of interesting. Let's add that. So much of production is just sound selection. It's like, it's parts and sound selection. It's interesting, cowbell. I like cowbells, I might use that. That's interesting, potentially on the chorus. I like that, potentially. All right, I need to get my actual snaps though. That's better, it's getting there. I think I could use that. I can always use the ones that I have recorded and pitch them down a little bit. I just want some kind of like warm, buttery snaps, whatever that means. So. Use the hi-hat. Oh, it's interesting. There's another alternative. Like that. All right, here's our snaps. Nope. It's our cowbell. Might save for verse 2. Mute that. Get rid of this. Stuff that I'm not using, I'm going to get rid of. Just delete that. I don't want a bunch of stuff sitting around. And this was my snaps. So let's try and see if we can get a verse 2 going. Yep. Take a little bit of the edge off A lot of times snaps are like overcompressed and too bright, so I just throw a 1-band EQ on it. Might be right. Get a little bit of reverb on it. I think we already got those there, so just pull that up. Let's listen. Too much. Nice. I want to dry clap on the 4s just to like separate verse 2 from verse 1. I'm gonna see if I can make those work. That's funny. That's from a session I did like on tour in Europe in a hotel room somewhere. When all else fails, just record it. Okay, so let's see if this is remotely usable. If not, I'm going to go sound surfing, which I do not necessarily want to do right now. Pan these out, keep them stacked, maybe add a little bit of something to them. My trusty LA2A. And actually, to make these feel a little bit more natural, let's make them all kind of end the same. That's getting closer. What I want to do is, there we go. That's what I wanted, more or less. I don't know if I wanted these every 4 or just on the 4. I forget what I said. I might have to flam these out more because they're getting, when I talked about frequency earlier, they're falling in a very similar frequency to everything else I have on the 2s and 4s. So I'm wanting texture more than like anything else. So I might have to flam these out so you can actually hear them. Yep. So I don't know how much I'll use of these, but gotta get them in there first. No. I want it to be every other, so it'll be like this. And then make sure we don't mute that guy. Check it out. Every other, every other. A lot of what I do is moving stuff around. Or what I do is I bring it, since the snap's already coming in, and I'm gonna bring in some other hi-hat thing, I could even save these for halfway through the verse. So it'd be like. Then hi-hats right here. You don't wanna bring in too many things every 4 bars. You wanna take away or introduce something new. I try to never bring in more than like 2 new things at once. Like, I try to stick to 2 things at once because otherwise, it's too much. Lyrically, I'm kind of producing and writing at the same time here. Sounds like the opening line I said is like,
So many different before
was the first thing out of my head, and I love whatever that means. I was somebody different before I met you. Like, that can mean either I was better or I was worse. Like, I was messed up, now I'm not, or like, or I was doing fine and then you completely messed me up. I just like that I can take it any which way, and it feels like a kind of a relationship-y kind of vibe. And something about, I said something in the chorus like, something, I'm on it, and you're keeping me honest, which I just think is, I don't know why I like that line, I just like it. I don't think verse 1 needs hardly anything more than this though.
Somebody different before I met you. Ooh.
Something else, answer here.
I was somebody different before I met you. Ooh.
Now something here. I do need, so we've been 4 bars, we need one new element of production right here. I'm gonna start with the most basic thing first. I feel like a foot, like you know when the drummer has their foot on the hi-hat and they're not even really using the hi-hat, they're just kind of like letting their foot off the pedal and back on, you get the kind of close of the hi-hat, which is kind of interesting. I think I have those sounds somewhere, yep, check it out, hi-hat foot. Too much, there it is, see? Now, that might have too much ambient noise for me to use. I'm gonna try it though. I'll grab that too. One of these might work. The reason I want to use that sound is because that's naturally what a drummer would do, right? I try to think of things that like make sense to live humans, and a live band and a live drummer would like, second half of verse 1, if you're trying to keep the vibe chill and whatever, he might just open and close his foot on the hi-hat, just on the 2s and 4s, just to create one little extra layer of like, oh, we're building into something. That just feels authentically like what a drummer might do. And I feel like the hi-hat's usually on your left, isn't it? So let's go. Yep. So already, I think that might be the right move. Yep. One layer, but it just signifies a new chapter here.
Somebody different before I met you.
And I might want to like kill the beat there. I want a cup. I want a yeah. All right. I'm gonna get a live. I gotta play this in. I can't fake this one. So like, what I'm gonna do is, let's try and keep this stuff a little bit more organized. What do I have down here? I've got my hi-hats. Let's bring this all up to the drum section, so it's not just like random. That's that. What was this that I liked? Oh yeah, cowbell. Just in case I need it at some point. That's muted. We've got our main drums. We've got, what is this stuff over here? That's all the verse 2 stuff. Let's keep this a little bit more organized. I'll pull this down. So now it all kind of looks somewhat interesting, or that's chorus 2, potential live drums. I gotta figure out too if I have a full chorus here, if that's more of a pre. All right, so I'm gonna track some live-ish drums right now. For drums, live drums, I use BFD and I use Addictive Drums. I'm a big fan of, for like realism, Addictive Drums by FX Expansion are the most realistic, I feel like, that I've come across. Now look, I could do this just playing it in with my hands, you know, like I could do that. I prefer to try it like as a real drummer. once upon a time was a drummer, and prefer to do that to get a more real sound. And I'm going through, and what I want is Vintage Dry. This is the Vintage Dry kit that I want right here. And you can hear it. You can almost hear, you can hear the tape. Just sound great. Those sound like, I mean, that's as good as it gets. Kind of what I want to do, or the pattern I want to do on here. Verse 2 is like this. There at least is a placeholder, but that's the idea of what I'm trying to do. That kind of. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, here I am saying I would prefer to play it, but it is actually kind of nice, so I just did it. All right, so I have that, but I'm gonna try and play it as well and see if I can beat that. But I've got that kind of little pattern that I like, and it sounds real. All right, hey, this is a good time to take a pause right now. In the next lesson, I'm gonna add a little bit more production. But before I do that, I'm going to actually figure out what the song is. Lyric, melody, top line, shape, all those things.